Hello and welcome to Strides Forward, where usually we tell narrated stories about women long-distance runners. This is Cherie Louise Turner, the host and creator of Strides Forward, and today I'm handing over the mic and mixing things up with a special treat. We're running an episode of a show I know you're going to love if you aren't familiar with it already. It's Keeping Track, co-hosted by track superstars past and present, Molly Huddle, Alysia Montaño, and Roisin McGettigan Dumas. These outstanding women in sport interview other outstanding women in sport with a heavy focus on women from the running and track and field worlds, but also beyond. I have enjoyed every single episode, and I encourage you to check them all out too. You can find Keeping Track on most of the popular podcast apps and at keeping-track.com. They release episodes roughly every month, and they also have a really excellent Instagram feed at Keeping Track Media. It's all one word. Now, about the episode I chose to share, it's the January 2020 interview that these women did with 100-meter hurdler Dawn Harper Nelson. And I chose it because I can't stop thinking about it. I heard it when it came out, and it has stuck with me like few interviews do. Dawn goes deep into her experiences as a Black woman athlete, who also became the first American in her discipline to win a gold medal at one Olympics, and then she went on to medal at the following games. There she won silver and missed out on gold by an incredibly small margin. And this is probably not the story you're expecting to hear. This is an important and powerful interview, and I'm really happy to be able to share it with you. And I'm particularly excited to be sharing it now because Dawn is making her bid for a third Olympic team at the Track and Field Olympic Trials coming up in June. And another excellent Women Helping Women tie-in here is that Dawn was chosen as one of 3 elite athlete moms to receive support from the nonprofit And Mother, that's ampersand Mother, as she trains for the trials. And Mother aims to help women thrive in their career and in motherhood, and it was founded by Keeping Track's Alysia Montaño. Ha! I love it. All right, so remember to cheer Dawn on in June, as well as co-host Molly Huddle, who will also be making her bid for her third Olympic team at the trials. She'll be competing in the 10,000 meter. All right, that's it for me, and now on to the episode. It's just a great one.
Keeping Track, and you're listening to Molly Huddle,
Alysia Montaño,
and Roisin McGettigan Dumas.
We want to highlight the important topics, inspiring stories, and amazing women in sport.
We're 3 Olympians from 2 countries, 2 moms, and 1 current pro coming together to talk about issues we're passionate about in the sports world.
And we care about the current and future landscape of women's sports. And this is just how we're keeping track.
On this episode of Keeping Track, Ro and Alysia catch up on their weekend while I pop out to run a workout, and then we sit down to talk to Dawn Harper Nelson, known best for her Olympic and World Championship gold medals in the 100-meter hurdles. We talk about the unique point of view she has in her career as a surprise winner of Olympic gold to becoming an athlete of perennial excellence, some of the painful and confusing fallout she experienced after dethroning sports media darling Lolo Jones, her experiences around the agony and ecstasy of winning and losing at the highest level, the perspective she has unique to her race and gender in the sport, and her current perspective as a new mother who's now unretired and returning to the sport. Thanks for keeping track.
Hello, everyone. Hey, Ro, how you doing?
Hey, Alysia, how you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good, actually. I am super excited just getting back from Boston.
Mm-hmm. Where you were the presenter on NBC, no big deal.
Presenter. I was an analyst for the New Balance Grand Prix, and it was incredible. It was my first experience in being on air broadcasting. I did have an opportunity, obviously, in 2017 to do commentating, which was like no face. It was just voice.
Oh, okay.
And I did just a few events, and this was like my first really big on air opportunity. And I'm just really grateful for NBC for giving me the opportunity and to be on the team. And it's just I love new beginnings. And you know what I mean? I don't even know if I'd call it new beginnings, but being able to step out into that space and really hone in on a goal of mine that I've wanted and finally be presented with the opportunity. I'm thrilled about it.
Great.
Very excited. It was very fun.
Do you put yourself out there for that? Or did they ask you? How does that
I
work?
put myself out there for that. I'm down with putting myself out there.
Yeah, good for you.
See how
this is it.
how I run the 800.
No, but people, we always say, that person must just got offered that, or that person must have just like bestowed that thing. But it's like, no.
I definitely, so back in 2017, briefly, I remember having a conversation with Lewis Johnson. I'd mentioned it before, I'd even decided, I was going to just take a step back for a little bit. This is some stuff that I want to be doing. Like, how'd you get into it? Meant talking to just everybody. And then in 2017, I ran at Milrose, and Lewis Johnson interviewed me. And I just remember being like, hey, just to kind of go off what we talked about the last couple of years. Because people had mentioned to me, when you're done, running or whatever, or when you're in some sort of transition period, it'd be so great for you to just, be on camera. Is that something you'd like to do? And I'm like, absolutely. I studied theater and performing arts. I love being able to elevate, obviously, and share stories. And so, being able to do that. I mentioned to him, hey, if there's ever opportunity. And then I mentioned to Josh Kaplan at Good Day LA, and everybody was just so great about giving me advice on where to go from there. Obviously, I was pregnant, and then put out a reel. I sent it to NBC back in the beginning of 2018, and then now I'm beginning of 2019.
Yay.
And so it's just all about building
2020 even. Yeah.
Is it 2020?
Yeah.
What year is it? Okay, I don't know what year it is, but I do know how the opportunities kind of aligned themselves, and how I kind of just kept throwing out little just keep thinking of me,
Yeah, and did you enjoy it?
I had such a great time. I'm eager to go again. Like anything, your first time, there's things that you're like, ooh, I'd love to kind of do this a little differently. And
sure.
I think I took it very seriously. Obviously, I prepared. I looked, into what I would want to have heard if I was on the other end. But anyways, this is a lot about me, everybody.
No. Sorry, I'm just like fascinated because it was great. And it's great to see you out there and just like, trying new things and having the courage to do it and sharing your voice. And it's
trying new things. That's the thing. Trying new things. As a pro athlete, it does like a circle of the things that you do on a Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So it was really nice to try new things and just to be on the other side. To be honest, I really enjoyed it.
You look good.
Thank you. I look forward to another opportunity.
Yeah.
But around this whole amazing, new opportunities, we have had an amazing guest on who thought one space in her life was done, and then is now looking for another opportunity. To show that she can be mom. She can be athlete and mother.
Yes.
Dawn Harper Nelson.
Yes. Olympic royalty, I have her written down here. She's an Olympic champion and a silver medalist. So if that doesn't define Olympic royalty, I don't know what it does.
That's amazing. I'm gold and silver medalist in a time as well, grabbing that gold when no one was talking about her to be the gold medalist.
Yeah.
What were some of your thoughts on the conversation we had with her?
I left that. I think I texted you guys after. It was I felt that was it's a really powerful interview, and I'm excited for everyone to hear it and just hear. So you have this expectation, what would it be like to win an Olympic gold medal? It must be amazing. And then to hear the reality was part of it was I don't know what the word is, but it was definitely disappointing and heartbreaking at times. But to hear her reality after winning an Olympic medal, and some of the adversity she faced even after that was just shocking. And I think it's really important story to get out there and for have people to understand sometimes what the reality is for different athletes. And her story is amazing, and it's like I think you said, it was like a Cinderella story, and I think it should be out there. I think kids should learn it. I think it should be in kids' school books. I think everybody needs to hear it. I love it.
This is the real Cinderella story, everyone.
Yeah, wait till you guys hear it. And I loved her reality, like her humanity of like, even, have been an Olympic medalist multiple times and then dealing with the transition out of that, temporary transition out of it, and being like, oh, what am I? Who am I if I'm not running around? And how much she kind of minimized her identity in how we can do that as athletes, and her struggle to kind of broaden that identity again. And I think that's like a theme we've been hearing. Even Shalane kind of talked about that a little bit. And it is a reality for that transition out of sport is a reality for really difficult for a lot of athletes. And I think the more we can hear about that and talk about that, the less alone people will feel. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think I can't wait for you guys to hear this. It's such an incredible interview, but I do agree with you. I think that's for me, I love examples and of people that have gone before me. Obviously being the example is not always great. But I think that But I think that I've been able to learn from my close peers that have, maybe 3 or 4 years, my senior, who have already talked about the identity of being an athlete. And I think I really try to manage my, my lifestyle goals to not be Alysia the athlete, because I can just only imagine how devastating it is that people need that. Like even in my own family, my family knows not to talk like just running to me. Yeah. I would, when Lewis and I first got married, his parents would always just make some sort of joke. Did you run here? And I just was like, can we have them stop doing that? Can they ask me how was that painting you were working on? Or, and I just really try to defer conversations from being just that, because it is difficult and you've got to be able to move on. And it's so depressing for athletes, for people to not know who they are without that, or without it in that way. Like I'm always going to be a runner. I'm always going to, but yeah, exactly. So, anyways, but then when she's such a great example.
Only see it through that, it's kind of, then you're like, oh, maybe that is all I am, right? So especially and especially an Olympic medalist, like your identity is like solid. It's like the world will see you as that. You're famous for that, and
right.
It's
you want the catalyst of that, right? You want to be able to use that as a resume, but not be the only thing that matters.
Exactly. And it's hard because sometimes, and this is what I kind of struggle with a little bit with the Olympics, the way it's gone the last 120 years, whatever. It has become this tunnel vision, single focus thing. In order to get there, you have to kind of live that way. But the downside of that is, you come out of that tunnel and it's like, oh, okay, oops, there's more to life here. So, and it just evolves that way to high performance above all else. And there's just the shadow of that is that people then feel like, oh, who am I without that? So anyways.
That's right. Anyways, everyone.
Enjoy the interview. And I'll stop talking now.
All right.
See you guys.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to episode 11 of Keeping Track. We have a great guest today with Dawn Harper Nelson. She is a 100-meter hurdle specialist for the US of A, gold medal in Beijing Olympics, silver in the 2012 Olympics, silver at the recent 2017 London World Champs, many-time Diamond League title winner. So she is a boss on the track and recently had her first daughter, Harper, not quite a year ago. So welcome, Dawn. So great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Yes. And we are rolling into Black History Month for February. So we have some amazing athletes on the lineup. Our schedule is really great, and we're going to get some great insights for all of you from some of these amazing athletes across a couple of different sports.
Lovely. Woo. Yeah. So, Dawn, I just want to jump right in. First of
let's do it.
all, let's talk about the Farbism, retirement to coming out of retirement. What are we thinking right now? What are we like? What? Tell me about your brainwave. You shared a little bit with Spikes about why you retired in the first place, and then some of the thoughts that were going through your mind during and after your pregnancy. Can you walk us through all of those emotions?
Yes, yes, emotions. That's exactly what it was, the roller coaster of them. So, just for me, I've always said that I knew three things. I wanted to be a wife, an Olympic champion, and a mom. Like even from a kid, I just knew those were things I wanted. I knew the relationship that I had with my mother, and I always said I just couldn't imagine loving someone the way she loves me, and they love me the way I love her. It was just the most beautiful thing in the world to me. And throughout my career, I never imagined, though, that I would be this old, 35, having my first child. I just said like, oh, no, I won't be 30. I won't be 30 anything before I have my first. No, because I want multiple kids. And I thought that was just so old. And I feel like, sounds crazy, but back then it was kind of unheard of to really have your first child kind of in your 30s, mid 30s. So I found myself in my career, it was going really well. And I found myself just pushing it back, because as we know, the climate of athletics, you have a child, you're done because your contract is cut off. And so that was really in the forefront of my mind. And that was, it was on my mind all the time. It was because what started to happen was the pull of the two. I wanted to continue to run, but I wanted to be a mom. And me and my husband, we had the conversation. I got married at 28. We had the conversation numerous times. He's like, when do you think, you want to start? And I'm like, well, after 2016, like for sure. And then 2017 got here and I was like, but you hold on, sir. I'm for sure going to have me some babies. And the blessing was I never felt the, you said after this year, he was very understanding because he said he knew that in track and field, it's a short window, no matter how you cut it. In sports in general. And so he also knew the ins and outs of track and field and contracts because he ran before. And so I was blessed with that. And so 2018 came and I told him, I was like, I completely feel the urge to be someone's mom more than I feel track and field. And if I decide to come back one day ever, no, I'm not. But, then I'll do that. But I wanted to be someone's mom. And so I get pregnant with my daughter. And like you said, you heard me, I'm crazy enough now where I want to run again. But the whole time I was pregnant, just had these thoughts of, man, I still have that itch to run. Like I'll, sit back with my big old belly and I'm like, I don't really know how to do it. But, and you feel yourself getting bigger and bigger and you're nervous because you see women that have recovered and maybe not even come back to athletics, but you see them, they look great. They're in really good shape. But I'm thinking, but how do you really come back from putting on this much weight to want to be back to the best shape you've ever been in your life, to compete against these girls that did not take a year off, that aren't in the mindset of stepping away for even a second, and I knew what it took to win. So I'm thinking, how do you come back to that after you have a child? I sat down and talked with my husband and he's like, sweetie, I knew you were going to want to run again. I was like, your wife, thank God. and so I sat there and I said, Dawn, are you willing to honestly juggle the two? Because it's not going to be put aside one or the other. It's going to be a blending of the two. And you're going to a certain extent, in your own way, have to master that. Because in order to go to that line and feel confident every single time, I'm going to have to believe that I was the best mother that I could be, but I was also the best athlete that I could be. I'm just someone I can't accept kind of one or the other, because I feel like if I'm really just falling off as a mom, track is done. It's not a question for me. If I feel like with track, you're just letting too many days go by because you're like, oh, well, my daughter, it's going to be one of those, honey, I need you to step up right now because training, we know we have to ramp it up. And so I've just, we've juggled the two, talked about it a lot, me and my husband, and I'm just blessed where he is like, his thing is, it's my daughter too. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't know if you knew that you had to be 200% in as well. So for me, that's just where I am. And it's going really well right now. So
that's incredible.
The long story.
This is what we want. We want to hear, really dive into your background of all of it. There's clearly the physical side of pregnancy when you're choosing family or pregnancy happens in families. But then you talked about the emotional side of things, the psych, it's not like you're just pregnant for 9 months and you have a baby, you're like, cool, moving on. It's like, oh, There's another small human that's relying on me for so much. And from a mom's perspective, I know you were pumping and breastfeeding for, yes, there's an eye roll, everyone who can't see. And that's a whole nother commitment that you're like, oh, my body is still doing this work for someone else, doing, spending extra energy, and then now to survive, to live, oh my goodness. And then, the energy that you're putting into training. What was a period of time in which you felt like you, and if you do now, you talked about things going really, really well, you felt like more of yourself? I don't want to say like your old self, because you're never going to be that, but more of someone who had ownership over their body.
It's funny. It was, for me, I feel like I know the exact moment that I felt like, yeah. Dawn, hello. Not like Dawn/mom, but just Dawn, so to speak, where I felt like I was now standing on my own 2 feet again, and I can juggle it all, was when soon after I had my daughter, I started training a month afterwards, where I was like back on the track and, actually trying to push myself through things. And so I'm out there, and I remember I got to a point where I wanted to do just a simple blowout. We just get off the line, a nice little pop, and speed, just steps, first 3 steps, make them a little quick, and then you just kind of shut it down, but you keep your stride going. And it felt like my hips, first of all, they laughed at me, and they shifted so much when I tried to, it was almost like I was literally pulling one leg while I was pushing off the other. I mean, it was a drag step, and I wasn't trying to really do a drag step. And that scared the crap out of me.
Can you explain really quick, sorry, to our listeners, what a drag step is?
Okay. So that is when you see sprinters that are getting out of the blocks, or their first typically 2 to 3 steps, where literally the tip of their spikes scrape the track. It's trying to keep it low, and you bring your foot up and you really claw back into the track. That's going to be quick and powerful steps. So that's really, and you have to, at that moment when you do that, when you get off the line for the first 2-3 steps, everything is engaged. Core, shoulders, arms, obviously your legs are activated, but every single part of your body, it's like you clench everything to move at that one moment. And I tried to clench, and my body said, you had a daughter about a month and a half ago at the time. And it was the most foreign, shocking, sad, scary thing I had experienced in my life, because I know track. I know hurdles. I know how to run. I know what I feel like when I'm ready. I know what I feel like when I'm coming back from an injury, because I've been injured multiple times in track and field. This was something I had never felt before. And I remember thinking, so of course I cry, because I'm just like, oh my God, my body is not mine. Like, I don't know this body. And my husband's at the track, and he just comes over. He's like, sweetie, you have to remember, you just had a daughter. And he just said it just like that. There was no like, you don't know. He's like, you had a daughter. That encompasses everything, like the mental, the physical, everything. So he's like, you have to give yourself time. And it was crazy, because I'm like, I know, but I just still was thinking, but like, it was almost like I couldn't explain, like, but you don't know how that felt to me. That felt terrible, to not be able to do something that I feel like is just rolling out of bed. And so that was really hard. And I remember training, and I remember thinking, you're like, well, they say one day you'll get better, one day. And I go to the chiropractor, and they tell me, no, we don't want to adjust your pelvis, because you need, it can take up to a year for it to go back on its own, to be tight and back, level. And so that was scary as well, because I'm like, I don't have a year for that. And over time, though, just doing little small muscle groups and strengthening, I remember going back to the track, and just over time, just saying, oh, and not thinking about, I'm going to try and do a little blow off the line, like a blast off the line again with the 3 steps. And I did it, and I slowed down. I was like, oh my God, I did it. Like, and I wasn't trying to think of, here's the moment to tell me again, because by this time I had been trained, for like about 3 months. So about another month and a half had gone by, where my body was really able to kind of just slowly, and of course it wasn't like, oh, I'm back, but I was able to, my body did what I asked it to do on call. And so I just remember in that moment, that was my moment of, oh my God. Okay, we have arrived, people. People are in trouble. Like, people, so that was my moment. Like,
It's about, you said 4 or 5 months?
It was like 3 to 4.
Oh my
kind of
goodness.
really in there. Yeah, I know. I was.
Everyone,
I was.
don't
I was.
compare yourself to other people.
Yeah, I
That's-
was.
that's
Yeah,
so
do not
incredible.
for sure. No, I was. I was like in the house, laying down, playing with Harper, like clenching, doing the exercise. I had my balls between. I'm like, oh, Harper.
Yeah. Did you seek special postnatal care or just?
No, I didn't. Girl, listen, I was a researching queen. I mean, I had all my, on my phone, my little tabs open where I'm like, okay, this exercise now, this exercise for, throughout the day. Yeah, because a lot of women, they were being very honest as well. Like a year is also nice. It can take longer. You just never know. And so it said just to help yourself. And so what I did was I tried to take the pressure off of myself. And I'm like, I know we need quicker than a year, but don't try and think of it. Just do what you can. So then I adapted the mentality of, well, let me do what I can. And if it's not meant to be, then it's not meant to be. But it won't be because I just said, well, I had a baby. Oh, well, I don't, those don't sit well with me.
Yeah, and postnatal care is so different and very, very hard to find anyway. I wish that it was more accessible and there's a pamphlet for you, right? When you deliver, that was like, here's your next steps, here's your training regimen, but it's not like that. So totally understand.
Dawn, the other day I watched all of the Players Tribune, the tea show that you were on. I don't know how long ago you filmed that, but I loved it. I thought it was great.
Thank you so much.
The kind of conversations that I think need to happen.
Yeah.
Did you see the news yesterday about the WNBA collective bargaining agreement?
Yes, and I talked to NECA. So me and NECA, the WNBA player, we really hit it off. And so, I sent her, a message online. And I was like, I need to send her, talk to her on the phone. So, send her a message. And I was like, you moved women's sport, obviously WNBA, but talking to her, and I told her how beautiful was it that we were just recording that. It was it early December, late November?
Okay,
the Players Tribute. Exactly. And so we were just saying, she's like, of course I can't give, you all the ins and outs, but she told me what she could. And she's like, these are things we kind of really want to fight for. And we're just really hoping it doesn't look good for some of this stuff. And then I was like, I woke up like, wait a minute, she's on Good Morning America. And so I sent her a message like, I can't believe. She was like, no, it is amazing. She's like, women in general are moving. I was like, we moving up. We're moving up. So that's just
cool.
So cool.
It directly relates to some of the issues you ladies were talking about on the show, as far as childcare for some of the players who are moms. They all get a certain level of childcare. The salary caps were raised and the minimums were raised. Yeah, it's really a big deal for the WNBA. So that was cool to see.
Yes.
Especially after just watching the show. So
right, and I'll say really quick, I love that the world recognized it. It was such a big deal that they had to be on. Like this was an announcement. It wasn't like social media just do a post and then it just kind of gets repost. Like she's on Good Morning America announcing because everyone understands how big of a deal this was. I truly appreciate it. I was like, we're just getting a little bit, but
Yeah, no, that was a big deal for other leagues to see. I mean, that's going to be a big deal to set precedents for women's soccer. And I think it's just that they made it a big news cycle is important. So that was awesome. That was, I met NECA a few weeks ago at a photo shoot. And I wish I would have talked to her more. Like I was just being shy and like, I'm just
super sweet.
But I was like, dang, I wish I talked to her more because this was going on like at that time. And so she is an amazing leader in the WNBA. And that was cool news. And I encourage people. We'll put a link to the Players Tribune series, the T. You guys, if you're interested in what we're talking about, you'll love that series too, which Dawn is on.
I'm curious from a track and field perspective, guys. Like, let's talk about our collective bargaining. Some of the things that we want. One of the things that's really difficult, I think, is we all come from an individual aspect. Things we are fighting for are what companies across the board can make standardized, quote unquote, in their contracts. Meaning, contracts that are not just set up for men. Part of it, I think, would be pretty interesting for us to, make sure that we have points that are, things like an athlete cannot sign an exclusive contract, if it's under a certain, margin of living, if it's below the poverty line and we're unable to actually make this our full-time job.
Almost like a minimum wage type thing.
Exactly. I feel like it shouldn't be an exclusive contract, and a lot of these deals that athletes are getting are really not helping us in the long run. People have said things from like a maternity perspective. You guys should have saved your money and allowed yourself to just be missing for whatever, 12 months or whatever, knowing that you just weren't going to get paid. And I'm like, well, track and field doesn't really roll like that. Second of all, we deserve an opportunity to, take a step back, you know what I mean? And be protected within our contracts. There's more to us than just.
Well, yeah, and if there were more women in charge, do you think they would make it set up that way, where it's just like, just save money when you decide to give birth? It's like, well, why would you set it up? If I saw a tweet that was like, I think Lindsay Krause tweeted, this collective bargaining agreement is setting women up to succeed, and like that's kind of revolutionary in and of itself, to like set them up to thrive like throughout all phases of their life. Like, so.
And I think like, if we're talking about, women being professional athletes, we need to say, hey, and that will include, when you want to go to the other side of your life and have kids, and not be like, okay, we'll take you this far and then you're spat out. If you're going to make it a profession for our young girls, you want to say, we're going to take care of you like throughout your career. And so I think it's just this like line now. It's like, okay, we can really honestly say that this is a good opportunity for girls to go into.
Yeah, and then it's a worthy investment too. Like, you're not done after you have kids. Like, I know, like, you've seen Allison Felix, you've seen Nia Ali, you've seen Steph Bruce, you've seen all these women. Paula Radcliffe won New York after having a daughter. Like, definitely it has a timeline, but like it pays off in the end. So
yeah, and I think something that really bothers me though is when you look at it and you're like, okay. Clearly, every single female that is competing in these sports is not just going to, like a whole WNBA team is going to get together and say, hey, 2020, we're all going to get pregnant and screw them because they're still going to have to pay us. No, I think what bothers me is that when you see a woman that is serious about her craft and her career, you see her train, like Alysia, training through the whole time because you're like, I don't want to, and you're still like, sorry, you see me post, you see me, I look, if you can't even tell I'm pregnant until I turn around. You know what I mean? So clearly I'm working out, I'm handling my business, and you're still like, sorry. Yeah. I'm doing everything that I can. And that to me is what bothers me, is that I'm still taking this serious so that I can give myself the best chance when I come back. And you're acting as if I sat on the couch and was like, I'm just taking your money. That bothers me. Yeah. That makes like infuriates me. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Let's talk super deep now. You talked about basically motherhood, and we talk about the difficulties of being a woman. But Dawn, one of the amazing things that you've been very persistent and open about is talking about the struggles as a Black woman in the industry, in the entertainment industry. And I know a lot of Black women, let alone athletes, understand and feel that. And it's very, very difficult to talk to, the mass public about really what we go through. And talk about setting yourself up and the difficulty of even setting yourself up from somewhere you haven't been set up.
Yes, right.
And I want to talk more about that. We're going into Black History Month, and this is the time, I think, where we can, you've just done such an incredible job sharing your story and all the things that you've gone through. You've talked about, how you felt like, I think you used the word ugly duckling. Somebody had said something like that to you after the 2008 Olympics, and about you being bitter because you were, this and that, because you were too dark. Can we talk about that? And I want to talk as deep as you want to talk about it, because this is such an important topic. And again, our setup is not the same setup for another woman who isn't of color.
Right. So when I think of where I am now, I always like to, I'm happy that you want to say, let's talk, get deep into it, because, now I'm definitely in a different headspace, definitely have a different confidence about myself. I'm literally in a space now where it's like it or love it. I believe I'm beautiful. I believe I'm worth it. I have so much to offer, but I'm just, to be honest, 2008, that was not where I was. So, you already are, for me, I didn't have a contract. I worked 3 jobs just trying to make it. And so wasn't even really thinking about my look or anything. I'm trying to
somebody else's shoes.
Yes, I ran and won in someone else's shoes.
Can I just slow you down for a second, just because I don't know if people realize, just make that connection. 2008, you won the Olympics. So this is the year of the Olympics.
Yes.
And you reach the pinnacle of your sport.
Yeah.
In somebody else's shoes?
Yes, in someone else's shoes. It was actually one of my training partners. She was 2-time world champ, Michelle Perry. And so she was, the hurdler of Nike. She had handled her business. And I remember just looking up to her and training with her every day. And she had her name on her shoes. And I called her and I said, I love you, but I don't want to wear your name, wear your name on shoes. You have any spikes that I could, have? And she's like, I'll check. She had one pair of shoes and she gave them to me. And I ran in the Olympics and won in those. Wow. And when I think of it, it really is like, wait, that it's almost, I feel like that is something that you kind of, someone will make up a story and say, believe in this. And I'm like, no, I was living it. I was working those 3 jobs, stayed in a converted frat house where they turned into apartment living. So we all shared a bathroom. We all shared a kitchen. I put my food in bins and would put please don't eat my food, on the bin in this, and come back. And sometimes they just got into your chicken and you're like, guys, really? We're all adults here. Please, I have $2 to my name. Please stop eating my food. So all of those things. So I'm dealing with all those things. And for me, I'm just thinking of, I believe I can make it in track and field. I believe my talent, when I get to the line, I'm not thinking about my hairstyle, my skin, my build. I'm thinking of when I get to the line, can I beat these other women? Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then can I beat these women in the US? Mm-hmm. Okay, now make the team. Can I beat these women in the world? Right. And so, now, all of a sudden, things have changed because I crossed the line first. But immediately, literally, when I crossed the line, I said what about 1 million times. And I was thinking, I could not believe for me and my faith that God thought that this little girl from East St. Louis, whose parents are divorced, my mother did not have it. My father did not have it like that. I was blessed with a full ride to UCLA, working these jobs. He thought that all that would come with the Olympic champion, I could handle. I don't know what all they are, but all the things that will come, I can handle it. So I'm at the line, and of course I'm crying. I'm like, this is crazy. I have arrived. This is crazy. And I get on top of the podium. My family's there. And I remember I thought I was just going to cry my eyes out on the podium, but I was just so happy. I was like, I don't think I have a tear. I am just I was just smiling and
well, you're Olympic champion, yes.
Right. What? The best in the world, the globe brought together the best they had. Yeah. It still is crazy. Yeah. So I now have interviews, and in these interviews, they also brought, the other U.S. athlete, Lolo Jones. And so we're doing an interview, and I'm just answering the questions that are presented to me, because I'm over here I never thought I did think I'd be here. But I didn't know if I'd be here. I'm like, right.
I
still got bills when I get back.
Yeah,
right. I'm
and
like,
just
I still got bills.
You were not the media darling at that point. You were not the favorite of that race. And so this was kind of upset, not upset. I wasn't upset, but you and Sally were
let's talk about that.
Sally's arrival was shock as well. And but you weren't part of their script, so they were having a hard time adjusting to the fact that you're the champion and Lolo wasn't. And what was that like for you when what was that whole, tell us more. Just to give people a context.
It was really hard because I did an interview before. This was right after at the Olympics. Of course, you're sitting down, you got the big cameras on you. But then when I went to track meets, this one guy comes up to me and he goes, it's a reporter. This is right after I had done a press conference. He has a notepad and he shows me it's blank. And he goes, okay, who are you and where are you from? What's your story? And now where I am, I would say, sir, that's not how we're going to do this one, right? I'm okay with understanding,
Don't approach me like that,
right?
And so I'm Olympic champion.
Right. And my thing is, you also had time by now, you know what I mean? It was 2 weeks or something. I'm like, sir, And so of course I sit there and I remember going, okay, well, my name is, and then I go through my story. So those were the things that I dealt with. There was so much of it was kind of so we had our person, we had what we wanted to happen, that it was they wouldn't let it go. And I even did an interview, a podcast over the phone with I forgot who it was, but these were gentlemen in Jamaica, and they were saying, I'm not gonna lie, I had they want the Delorine to win from Jamaica and Bridget Foster Hilton. So those are 2 Jamaicans in the race. Sure. And they were like, we want them to win so much. They said it took them more than a year to get over it. They said literally as a country, they were like, this is our moment. And their people didn't win. And they were kind of like, okay, this girl Dawn, who's she again? And they said, oh, she's pretty good. Okay. So it took everyone time. And this is the thing, I totally understand, because think about it, my family, when they went there, they wanted me to do well. I completely understand about you having your favorite or your person that you believe and you, what I cannot comprehend is you not respecting that everyone that lined up sacrificed for me, sacrificed so much to be there, right? Everyone, I believe, even if they didn't cry at some point for this to come true, they went to bed worried, like, man, I'm working real hard. I really hope it's in my, my future, or, like overcoming injuries, the financial struggles, family struggles. Cause my father told me, sweetie, track was fun in college, but you need to get a real job now. You know what I mean? Like just all these things you overcome.
The doubts and
Yes. And I feel like people to not respect that 8 women lined up with insecurities, with nervousness, with I'm going to believe to the last second, and you just will not let it go. Like that bothered me.
And it's sports. Anything can happen in sports, and I think the media tries to like preordain who's going to be the star, and they try and base it on results, but they also base it on marketability and who they decide is marketable. And for female athletes, largely a lot of that comes into what you look like, which I think that's been frustrating for me. Like, and I'm sure you can speak to this in a whole new level, but like, if you're great, you're great. And if you win, you win. And the podium should be yours. The spotlight should be yours. They can make anyone marketable. Everyone's got their traits, their beauties, their strengths, their inspiring stories.
They do such a great job doing that for men's sports.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like when they win, market that, like the shoe companies market them, the media needs to market them. Don't depend on you marketing yourself. You're just trying to get there. You're trying to get to the line, fit.
Literally.
And, like you cannot think about what your hair looks like. You can't think about what you're going to say. So can you talk about sort of what you faced after that, trying to get that respect?
And even just talking about, you're not worried about your hair and all this stuff. I didn't even have money to pay for all that. So I'm like, look, guys, I'm here to run. Like I literally, the money that I have is for the things that keep me to survive. And
Yeah, I just want to say what Dawn just said is something that's really important. Again, when we talk about sports and we talk about women and we talk about Black women, she just said, I didn't have the money to pay for that. Black hair care is a whole nother beast, and it's something that's it's totally different. Yeah. So, and it does take a lot of maintenance to show up overseas for 2 weeks, without all of the products that you need to, keep our beautiful natural hair in the condition that it needs to be in, so you can show up on TV.
Exactly. That you would even like to. You're like, no, I mean, I've been over here for some weeks. No, I wouldn't necessarily still have these same braids in, but if I take it down, I don't know what to do with it next. So we're going to keep these braids up. It's a whole nother, girl, you just open up a can of worms. And so, so the issue you said, like afterwards, I just remember doing interviews, and then the main interview that we did right, like immediately afterwards, somehow they say that I came across jealous because I'm dark skinned, jealous because I'm Black and ugly. And I'm mad because she got all the spotlight. And I remember literally thinking all I wanted to do was win the Olympics. Like I hadn't thought of, like I was literally like, I can now get a contract. I had not thought about cameras are going to follow me or people are now going to love me forever. And I'll be the goddess of hurdles. I can eat. Like I was, thinking of Nike or Adidas or Reebok and all. They will now approach me. I'm approachable. Like that was my biggest goal. My thing was at night when I laid my head down and I said my prayers, I prayed, Lord, being on that podium will be the greatest thing ever. So for me to lay my head down at night wasn't about the fame. It was about my full potential coming out when it mattered, when the gun went off.
Performance. The performance. And you got it out. You absolutely got it out. That should have been enough. Yeah.
It should have been. And so afterwards, like I said, then I remember this dragged on, to be honest, for about 4 years because I didn't have an agent or anything at the Olympics. Like I had nothing. So people couldn't get in touch with nothing, guys. So this narrative carried on, honestly, for many years. And I remember just not understanding or feeling really confused because I look back at interviews and I wonder, what had I done? What had I said to come across? And it really was, I felt lost because I didn't have the platform social media wise, because my best friend even started my social media. She's like, Dawn, people want to know. And I'm like, no, they don't care. And so, she signs me up, and then I get, the few followers that I had. And I remember, oh, that's so cool. People care, But
this is pre-Instagram and all, though.
Right.
2008, this is Facebook was
she
just
started
coming
my Facebook.
out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She started my Facebook, and I got followers. And I'm like, so think about it, like you said, even now there was no platform for people even to look back and scroll and say, well, let me see what type of person she is. There wasn't, like I said, even when I started, there was nothing.
Yeah.
I was literally like this person that came from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, if you weren't a reporter, know how to do your own research, the regular fan is like, who? She's from what? And then I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois, where we call ourselves a city of champions, but we are not necessarily known for positives, shall I say. It's rough there. Kids don't make it out. Families are, living in really, really rough conditions. It's really rough. And so I felt like all of that, if you wanted to continue to believe it, really played into it. If you wanted to just say, look at her, she's just this ghetto girl from East St. Louis that's Black, mean, and ugly, that played into it. And so I remember 2012 for me, that was when everything really hit the fan. Because 2008, I was still kind of like, I don't understand. This just isn't me. That's so wrong. Why? And I remember looking at the picture of me at the 2008 Olympics and having braids in it. I used to wear my braids to the back all the time. That was a really cute style back then. And I was mad at myself that was the hairstyle that I liked, because I felt like I do look ugly with this hairstyle. Why would you wear this to the Olympics? When before that, I kid you not, I thought it was the cutest hairstyle. I thought it was so cute.
Make me feel like crying.
Yeah,
No, I want to cry right now too, but I'm not, because it's just crazy where your hair
is beautiful.
It is, but
you were analyzing.
I literally felt like just imagine, guys, the glow. I felt like the world was telling me I was ugly. And just imagine sitting at home and you're like, I don't use this term, but I swear to God, I didn't mean any harm. I don't know what else I could have done besides being like, oh, I'm mad I won and she did. That was the only thing I could do besides giving her the medal. Because I just felt like, I think all of us wanted it, I thought. Yeah. And should I have not tried? Because now I'm this villain, and, talking with my mom, crying on her many of times. My sister, she was definitely baffled. She's kind of like, what? Because the other thing is, I'd never been really the prissy girl. I wore cute stuff, but I was never, for me, when I competed, I wanted to put my hair in a ponytail and run.
It was fast.
That was what I wanted to do.
Let's go.
Just, aerodynamics. And so for
why
my
can't
sister,
I just do the sport? Yeah.
Right. And my sister was like, that's always been you. Why is it an issue now? Everyone was just baffled. And so we get to 2012, and this narrative is still kind of carrying on. We get to 2012, and once again, I'm on the team. It's me, Kelly Wells, and Lolo. Cross the line. And I remember being there, and I was thanking God that I was once again in the best shape of my life and ready to contend for the goal. It was almost like I couldn't comprehend that my life had led to this point, that I know people that have tried their whole lives to make any team and they haven't. And I was on my second team. I had won our Olympic trials, and I felt like I was ready to do it again. What? I just remember even get on the plane, shut up. This is amazing. I was so happy to have on that uniform. I just, even when I just lived like a kid in a candy store, I got another one. I was so freaking happy. And to get there, and the whole narrative was, between me and Sally Pearson from Australia. And so who's going to get it? And I was so happy that me and her, because through the rounds, we were PRing left and right. And so I was like, the people are going to get a show. That was what I wanted. I was like, it's going to come down where you have to look at the clock and we're like, who got it? I wanted everyone on their toes, biting nails, and it does. That's exactly what happens. I remember before the gun went off, they have the nerve to, everyone's quiet and they do the heartbeat, boom, boom. And I was like, come on, it's enough drama. And then it starts to rain on us. It starts to rain and you're like, I don't need any more added to this. This is intense enough. Right. Gun goes off, cross the line, and we're standing there for a second, and I end up getting silver. And for a split second, you're like, come on, because 0.02. Right. Ugh. And, you have that moment of like, oh, but then there's a video of me where I clap my hands like, and I'm smiling because that was a combination of, darn it, I got second, but I'll be danged if I just PR. I tied the old Olympic record. Like, am I really about to cry?
No.
And it was like, give me my flags. I could do my victory lap,
Yeah.
I'm on top of the
You
world
ran the
because
best
for
you
me,
could. Yeah.
this is the what? Because like I said, I wanted where everyone had to wait and look at the screen.
Yeah.
Because it felt like, 20 minutes, of course, but it happens in seconds.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, what happened. And get done. I'm doing my victory lap. I see my family, hug them again. And they're just like, you did it. I'm like, I did, And the next day we go to, I remember being in my dorm room and Michelle Carter was in there too. She's a thrower for the US. And I remember no, this was afterwards. So I go down to get my medal, right? So I go to get my medal. We're down in the tunnel, and I'm standing there and I pull out my phone and I start to look, on my social media because I want to post some stuff. I'm like, and Kelly Wells, she turns around and looks at me and my face just changes from a smile to literally confusion, and frustration because my phone is filled with you angry bee, you black bee, kill yourself. Yeah. And I'm like, but what happened? I go and Kelly Wells, she just gets my phone and she's like, just put it away. And I'm like, what happened? So anyways, I go back to my dorm room and I'm crying. I'm like, I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Me and Kelly Wells had done an interview.
This is the next day, right?
Mm-hmm. We had done an interview the next day, the morning. And the beginning of the interview, they were trying to force on us this whole conversation about Lolo. Just kind of like, so, she didn't, place the way. So how do you feel? And so for me, I just remember trying to, my whole thing was, I'm going to answer the questions about myself, so how do you feel? And I'm like, well, I know, it has to be hard, but, we went out there, we represented well, so that's me curving it, right? It's the first one. And then they're trying, and I'm like, well, we as Americans feel, I curved that one. And then Kelly Wells says, well, I just know she said something like the athletes that put it on the line, like got a medal, something, boom. Right. So that was, she said, basically like kind of like, we did well and we're in here. Kind of, can we talk about that?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, so I'm like, there you go. Kind of like, thank you. Right. I'm sitting back. That literally is what you can find in the interview. That is what they said. They said, you guys are angry black bees and you threw her under the bus. How dare you not uplift we were like, I have never experienced or seen someone that after they win something has to talk about somebody else. The first interview. Yeah. Like that is outrageous to me that you're not like, how do you feel? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, did your dreams come true?
Tell us
exactly. Or even like, are you like, just even hit me with the stupid question. Are you sad you got silver? You know what I mean? Come with that.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not talking about. And so very confused, but I thought that I did a great job because I said, I understood. Once again, 8 ladies went to the line dreaming. And unfortunately, she got 4th. And I'm like, that has to be devastating. I couldn't imagine it. Right. And the thing is, the night that I won, my doorknob on my dorm was broken. So I couldn't get back in my room. My roommate she had left because she competed before. So I couldn't get in my room. So I had to go next door to Damu Cherry's room. This was actually 2008. Sorry. But anyway, this time, 2008, Damu Cherry's room where she's crying the whole night and I'm laying in the other bed and she's crying. I'm like, this to me is an example of 8 ladies line up and you put your dreams on the line. So not trying to be funny. If you didn't get top 3, typically you're sad, right? You're sad. Yeah, and so you respect that, you understand that, but I got to experience firsthand. So that's why for me, when I line up, I'm never like, so what? You lost. Should have tried harder.
Yeah. You get it.
I get it. I saw someone that cried their eyes out. She was, and I was like, are you okay, Damu? And she's like, I'll be okay. Oh. And I'm sitting there all night like, oh my God.
The agony she was in. And you were like,
exactly. Right. So, back to 2012, because I mixed that story with 2012. And I just remember thinking to myself, are you guys really going to do this again? Create your own narrative because of who you wanted to win. And then they got on Kelly because she had, now aren't times so different now? how soccer players that we now honor and win Women of the Year, right, type of awards, has pink hair. Kelly Wells in 2012 had a purple strip. She had put purple hair in, and they were like, "You're ghetto and you should never represent USA because of your purple hair. USA would never be represented like that. You're this." I mean, me and Kelly, of course, we share the story. So, we would send each other messages like, "Girl, are you okay? Like, what are you going through?" And she's like, "Now they're getting on me about my hair." But now women wear different colors and certain things. And they're like, "Oh my God, that's the new wave." You got people for Halloween want to dress up and be these people. But for us, it was, how dare you, USA, you should never have those 3 letters on your chest. And I remember when I was talking in the Players Tribune, I told them, I said, it's such a beautiful time right now for women, because right now you cannot attack one of us and everyone is not like, "No, you're not. Excuse you. They don't deserve that. You can't do that." But in 2008, 2012, that was not how we supported each other. I'm sorry. You can say what you want, but that's not quite how we supported each other. We did not flood your timeline with, "You will not be disrespectful to this woman. You will not do this and that to her." So I felt like I went through 4 solid years, Olympics to Olympics, where I was literally kind of just fending for myself and had to somehow find my own confidence and say, no matter what the world is telling me, I know that when I line up, I know it's a blessing to wear these 3 letters on my chest. And every time I line up, I'm just going to do my best. So it was just
amazing
crazy,
strength, like, because that media machine is massive, right? And that sounds like, I'm sorry that happened to you, first of all, and it should never have happened, and it's really upsetting. But also that, you were able to withstand that and have that strength of self-belief and come back out there and keep going, and that's just amazing. So just
thank you.
Yeah. From 2008, just a quick question. Did you end up with a sponsorship afterwards? Like a substantial, or would you say you took it what it was?
I took it what it was, because remember, that's when the market crashed.
Okay.
And they were, well, we're still hurting from that. So this is what we have. And I remember thinking, how, in a sense, is my timing that bad? You see people, nowadays, you see people have one good, race, and they're like, "Oh, we want to get you because we just feel like we see your potential." And I'm like, potential? I did what you want people to do, right? Just the year before, I had saw, some athletes that had signed for a pretty penny because they felt like they had the potential to win the next year in Beijing. And those people didn't. And I didn't say in the same event, but I'm just saying, and I did. And I'm thinking, I'm doing what you people want, and I was young. I was only 2 years out of school. So I remember thinking, you have longevity in me. Like, I'm someone that is focused. I'm going to.
I have to prove myself. Like a gold medal isn't.
Listen, every time I lined up, I kid you not, I always felt, because think about, like, the stock market crashed. So they're like, well, we don't really have, but we'll, if. So every single time I lined up. So
bargaining power, just so our listeners know, is always greatest after the Olympics or before the Olympics, if you are somebody who has a medal. So, when you achieve a medal, like Dawn had, the greatest medal of all time, the gold medal, one would likely expect not just one sponsorship, multiple sponsorships. And it's an opportunity. Sport is a vehicle of opportunity. And it's we do look for upward mobility because there's a short window in which we can be professional athletes, and it should allow us an opportunity to set us up for afterwards. In Dawn's story, it really hasn't been that.
Not at all.
Going from your 2008 gold medal to now 2011, where you've got all the hot sponsors coming the year before the Olympics, because you don't train for this for
right.
1 year, but
it's 2012. I'm gonna try it. No, you continue.
You keep going, but now because the Olympic sponsors are popping up, 2011. What was your door like? What was your phone? Was it ringing off the hook? Did you have knocks? Did you have opportunity then?
And I had won bronze at World Champs because I actually was coming off of 2010. I had injured myself, but 2011 I was going undefeated. So it was like, oh, she's back. From the first meet, until Worlds, I had been undefeated. And so I was like, okay, I get, the beginning of 2011, maybe, but I have not lost. I'm showing you that I am coming back and I'm going to be, you know what I mean? Once again, a contender, if you will. And then, I just thought that, like, why wouldn't you want a story of 2008? Because no hurdler had ever won an Olympic medal and then made the next team and went and medaled. So I was like, that's a story in itself. Like, history is going to be made if I do it and it looks like I could do it. And so I just remember being completely baffled when I tell you there was nothing, not one thing, not even my agent didn't even call and say, oh, well, it's they're asking about, nothing. And so for me, I've never had, Nike's been my only, I've never had another, Nike's been it for my whole career. I do feel like, to be honest, this is kind of hard to say. I do feel like some of my team truly did accept kind of that narrative, as in like, and they're not really asking for you, so that's where you are. Just work your shoe contract, get all those bonuses that you can. And I love my team, but I'm sorry, I do feel like they accepted that. And
you
what
mean your
they
representatives?
Yes.
On your team, yeah. And
I do feel like I have to take responsibility. I feel like I kind of accepted that as well, because I don't know. Like, I'm thinking, I'm like, I can't do it for myself, right? You guys are supposed to go searching for me. Or from what I had also heard from other people, but pretty much big names, they come to you. So I'm like, they're just not looking for me, But then the times that I know that I did hear from companies, they were like, oh, no, we're looking for, you're not the look. I'm like, well, doggone it. You say I'm not the look? Well, I'm like, well, I'm not going to show anything. I'm not going to pile on makeup. So I guess I'm not your look.
Look. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so damaging, though, because you win the Olympic gold, you win the medals, and it's like, well, that's what they should be promoting, your greatness, is that not a springboard? But then when you hear things like that, that's damaging for other people that look like you. There's, that they can't see you then later. Like, and then it just fuels the cycle. It's like, well, you're not what we want. And it's like, well, you haven't tried it. Like, people do want that. You just haven't put me out to know.
And you guys were saying that, Black History Month is coming up. And it's going to be such a special time, to really just, I love my husband. He's a high school math teacher, and he forces his kids to do research on people that aren't the norm, MLKs, he's like, no, give me somebody else. Bring me somebody new that you didn't know about, right? And I feel like you would think that maybe someone from the outside looking in, someone in my position had been, boosted up enough where I would be confident enough, because think about Black history, we think of just our history is so rich. There's so many people that have moved the needle, that have done all these things. But in those moments, it's so lonely. You're like, when I look around, there wasn't any support in that. Like, you mean to tell me to find support or to find confidence, I have to look back to, and that's what it felt like. So for me, I didn't feel like I had value, or that I didn't have recent value. Like, I know overall, one day this will be like, oh, that girl won the Olympics. Yeah. Oh, she's dark skinned and she looks like me. But there
Harper's going to see that.
Right. Which is so crazy. Maybe you get to see your mommy. But it's just in that moment, I felt like I was in a bubble and I didn't see anything to tell me, continue on, you're worth it. Wow. Or the things that these people are saying, they don't know you. It's okay. They don't know you. People are going to have an opinion. Even if you were the chosen one and you won, then you're going to have other people that still had something to say. I just felt like there was nothing recent to make me like feel okay, to feel safe. And, now, you have that, I always say her name, like Lupita, you got Lupita, you have Oprah, just all these things, but it wasn't like that. I felt so alone. And then, of course, to hear from your mom and your dad and your sister, you're supposed to say that. You're supposed, it's like, no, like, not even looking for validation outside. It's like, I need someone I don't know. But it's like, think about this, every time you turn on your phone, the only thing you're saying is negative about yourself, how are you supposed to combat that? Like, I don't like, to be honest, it's almost impossible. Like, how are you supposed to still believe in yourself?
Exactly. You do the thing you thought was impossible, and you're like, things will look up from here. We got it. I did it. And then you're like, well, what's wrong with me that things aren't taking off? Why don't I have people knocking on the door? That's what you would think, what's wrong? And nothing's wrong. But it's just there's a very small ideal window of what people were looking for as far as looks, and it's just very it's missed opportunities all across the board.
So tell us now. So we're rolling from 2019 into 2020. Dawn's year out of retirement. What does support look like for you now from a financial perspective? Sponsorships, ultimately, what allows you to be able to do this full time so you have the best chance when you stand on that starting line?
Well, I don't have any sponsors right now. So that part is challenging. What I do say is I was blessed where my mother stressed to me, and she made it very clear and told me often to look around you, sweetie. Sports does not last always. One day in sports, the money does stop. Say, it turns into, you do motivational speaking or other things, but she's like, this fast, quick money stops. And so you need to save your money. So I tried to be responsible with my money. So that right now is allowing me to continue to chase my dream. But to be honest, that money does not last always, and it is being eaten into. And so I have been, on the look for a sponsor. I have been blessed where I have a chiropractic sponsor where in St. Louis, where she's, adjusting, those things for free, where I'm like, thank you, God. And then with Icelandic glacial with water, that actually I reached out to them, and I said, hey, hydration is really important, and they're like, sure, we'll support you through this. But literally those are like the only, so nothing, no financial, nothing is coming through. It's just nothing right now. And it's just, and I feel like, people are like, tell your own story. Don't let someone, you go out there but you're still like, how do you battle companies that have partnerships with other marketing agencies? They just go and like, hey, who do you have? Send me that person, or who do you have for? How do you battle that? And then if you are part of one of those companies, you're still not a big name. So are they pushing you? Like, you are, I literally feel like
you're not a big name with a gold and a silver medal.
That's crazy.
Right. So the only thing that I told myself, I was like, you've done it before and you can do it again. Clearly your situation looks different when you have a baby and a husband, but what hard work looks like.
You're a real human though. That's what trips me out. Is that it almost feels like we put this asterisk of baby, husband, an expansion of Dawn as like a little bit of a hindrance when we talk about performance enhancement, but why wouldn't that be enhancing?
But you know what?
Taking away? It just obviously blows my mind, guys.
I totally agree. But for me, what I have to do is, it's like you can't harp on it. Like you can't. You literally have to move on. Like
no pun intended.
It often it often pops in your head, and you're like, nope, don't have time for that.
It's out of your control. Like you focus on that. You could drive yourself crazy. Where you take what's in your control. You get your training done. You'll prepare. You take care of your child, all the things, and that other stuff is not necessarily in your control, but it doesn't make it right, and it's still right. And just like, I think what I'm hearing is like, this expectation of what an Olympic champion life is like. And I just know, Ireland is a way smaller country than the US. We do not get the medals you guys get. But if someone's an Olympic medalist, they are set, and that's like really hard to watch, for some American athletes. I'm like, you guys are legends, and you aren't getting that royal treatment, and and it's just like, this is a real reality check for the life of an Olympic champion. And thank you so much for sharing it with us. I think this is so powerful.
So incredible. And, just so you know, the purpose of keeping track is to be able to further elevate and tell women's stories that aren't, otherwise told in the way that we need them to be told. We're listening to your story, and I don't feel like there's a stone that has been left unturned now within your story. People get to really hear the ins and outs that, you didn't get an opportunity to tell in 08 and 12 about well, I mean, you tried to tell them, but they wanted to keep, switching the narrative. But is there anything that we could be missing? Anything else?
Oh man, is there anything else? No, I would just say that outside influences, and I know we all know this, but they're real, because what I've done to myself, I've even put myself in a box over the years of, like, you have all these dreams. Like, I said the 3 things that I want to, become or I want to have in my life. Clearly there were other things, but those were the ones, that if you don't put your head, well, I can't say you put your head down, you find a man, you know what I mean? But, you put your head down and you just like focus on these certain things and you do the right things. But I found myself, because of people telling me, you're not this, you're not that, you're not good enough, you're not, that I'm like, I run track. And what does that do to you when you're done running track? You will find yourself in this space of, I have nothing to offer. And you've traveled the world, you've overcome so many things, you've learned so much, you have so much to give, but you're like, no, I don't. I run track and I don't run anymore. So, and what I had to constantly do, and I've been blessed also with my husband, is, he's around me every day. So he's like, you're so much more. Like, do you hear yourself about this? You're so passionate about that. You're so passionate about this. And I'm like, I do enjoy that. He's like, yeah. He's like sweet, almost like helping me just chip away. Literally, he's just slowly helping me chip away at just that box that I put myself in. And I'm feeling it crumble, and it feels so good, but it's so scary, because then what if I get rejected again on the things that I want to do? Yeah. And you're like, and the part that also helps though, is there's never been a time where I have not been in front of or around, people where they're like, how are you not, like, the things that you have to offer, the things you have to say. And it just helps now, with, okay, I do have value. The things that I'm saying, my experiences are worth, even listening to,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, like you said, is there anything we're missing? I just feel like we have to acknowledge that outside influences are real, because this social media, it is a real thing. And I'm an adult now and I'm okay, but our kids that are growing up in this, this is their world. Like, I was at least able to say, that's not fair, and put it down. They're still like, that's not fair. How do I not? And then they're going to try and find their validation from still here. And I knew that there was a world that, existed before. Outside, I was able to put it away and be like, those people are mean, and, go to my family or go to my friends. I don't know. We just need to acknowledge that this stuff is real. And I love that we're pushing the envelope and we're saying, like, no, there's more platforms for people to tell their stories, such as this. And I think that's really going to be, like, really, really helpful. I'm happy that you guys reached out to me, and I'm truly appreciative. And I'll say this, it's amazing how I still hold on to, and I have a fear of telling my story, because it sounds like, here she go again, trying to just, it's a pity party, or here she. And so even when I was just talking to you guys, I was like, should I even be talking this much? Should I be like, seriously, a fear? And I said this when I was talking on the Players Tribune, because they asked a question. I was like, shoot, it was almost like, oh my God, they're asking me. Like, oh my God, I have to say something about it. But it's like, but my experience is, as soon as you talk about it, it's like, nope, you're going to put you to the back burner again, because you didn't. I'm like, no, I'm not an angry Black woman. I'm literally like, we're so beautiful. We have so much to offer, and everyone that lines up has something to offer. You know what I mean? That's
talking race is hard. Talking about, gender discrepancies is hard, but, these hard subjects have to be talked about in order for us to incite change. So, Dawn, we thank you so much. It's been such an incredible conversation, to open the doors for more people to see you, someone just as beautiful as you from the inside out. And I do want you to know that, when we talk about Cinderella stories, it's just so incredible that you're talking about taking someone else's shoes and the shoe fit and it fit
Yeah.
just for you the way that it should have fit.
It is
So-
a Cinderella
Like,
story.
who
It
was
is.
not trying to use that story? Like, that is beautiful. I need
Yes.
you on my team.
You need to write your
That's
own.
so cool.
Yeah.
I never thought of
Disney
it like
fairy
that. That
tale.
is so cute.
Yeah.
Love
Disney,
it.
you are. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys can follow Dawn. Dawn, can you tell us where to follow you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, websites?
Yes. Twitter and Instagram is the same. DHarp100MH, Meet the Hurdles. And then Facebook, it's my name, Dawn Harper Nelson, for fan page and personal page. So yeah.
We love it. Okay, everyone. Well, that's all we have. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for keeping track.
We're rooting for you.
Keep track, keep track. Keep track, keep track. One time, yeah, yeah. Keep track, keep track. One time, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Keep track, you already know what keep track. Keep track, keep track. One time, yeah, yeah. Keep track, keep track. One time, yeah.
Major shoutouts to What Cheer Writers Club Podcasting Studio, a nonprofit supporting Rhode Island's content creators and where Roisin and I record, and to Rudy Nakashima for our funky outro song. Thanks, guys.
Hear Her Sports is a podcast for everyone who loves stories by and about women striving to improve and make a difference in their lives. I am your host, Elizabeth Emery, a former professional cyclist. In every episode, I introduce a female athlete or woman in the business of sport through a thoughtful conversation about who they are and the terrific work they're doing. My guests and I explore the glorious and frustrating issues in sports, history, equity, training, nutrition, and so much more. Join us for inspiration, for community, and for love of being a strong, athletic woman.